everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you want to skip right into the tutorial, I have the timestamp below, but I did want to take a second and just say thank you to all of my subscribers. I'm so blown away that we've hit 3,000 subscribers, yay! And I actually just got my very first check from YouTube, and it couldn't have come at a better time. I literally paid my car payment thanks to you guys. So watching my videos, letting the ads play occasionally, and especially sharing the videos to anybody that you think would appreciate it actually really helps support me as a full-time dance teacher and performer during quarantine. So thank you so much to all of you. I love you. So let's get into the tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about Saiidi hip drop. Little tips and tricks. I have another video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to assume that you already have some working knowledge of this movement, but we're going to talk about variations today. Yes, this is one of my favorite things, and these are not in a traditional style. Just putting that right out there at the front. This is in a more modern tarab style, very like dramatic, very elegant, a little bit of influence from the Russian style, a little bit of influence from ballet. If that's not your style, totally fine. Pick and choose what you like, or just don't do it at all if it's not your style. But if that's your style, let's get into it. So just a couple really quick little reminders for Saiidi hip drop, okay? We really need to make sure that all of your weight is supported in the back leg. And we're going to have that weight go right down, driving into the heel. Don't let it come forward into the knee. That's going to throw your weight forward. So showing you from the back, keeping grounded right here, you need to be able to pick up your forward leg. And you also need to have a good foundation of balance. So if you need to do some balance drills, or if you want to see some balance drills, leave me a comment and let me know. Sorry about that burp there. So make sure that you're pretty balanced here. A lot of the movements we're going to do are working with the forward leg. Ooh. A lot of the movements are working with movement in the forward leg. So really go in there, make sure that you're tucking your hips down and back. So we have a very active core working here. We really need this just from any Saiidi hip drop, but we especially need it with any of these variations that use a lot of forward and outward energy and changes of position. So really work on having an active lower core, and that immediately pulls up the front hips, and it really lengthens the back. So it's going to protect your back, protect your knees, and make you more centered and balanced. Then let's talk about the forward leg here. Really make sure that we're pulling up through the quadricep and that you're brushing along the floor, pointing out at the last minute. Don't do the hinge your toe, kick the soccer ball. Remember, if you're folkloric styling, there are totally different techniques for folkloric versus classical versus modern, okay? So just keep that in mind. But you always have the option to do what you want with that forward leg, but just make sure that whatever you're doing it purposefully and intentionally. Don't have this like, That's a pet peeve of mine. Make sure if you're doing a pointed leg, turn it out slightly so that you get that lovely line instead of here. Okay, so we're just squeezing through here, and you're squeezing through the top of the foot, and then of course you're either pointing or flexing, whatever you'd like, just not in the middle, not a relaxed foot. There's no place for that, there's no need for that, okay, so pick one, okay? All that being said, those are just kind of reminders that I feel like dancers of all levels can kind of, retouch base with that, myself included sometimes, okay? Let's move on to a couple little fancy things that we can do, little embellishments on the framework of Saiidi hip drop. So I'll just face you guys, we're not really doing choreography or combinations today. I'm just breaking down these movements for you. So one is going to be a 90-degree extension on the Saiidi hip drop. And you'll see a lot of these movements in like competitions, and I'll see them on the world festival stages, or at least you would, pre-COVID. Hopefully again soon. But so to get that extension, What a lot of belly dancers do if they don't have training in other dance styles, which granted there's nothing wrong with that, I'm just saying that there's a little bit of insight from studying other dance forms, is that when the foot comes out, you have to counterbalance by tucking and shifting your weight backward. So you really have to pull and lift. So it's essentially, all it really is, it's essentially a 90-degree battement. It's exactly the same. So if I'm in ballet, the only difference is I'm going to be turning out. With this, we don't really want to turn out, except just enough to kind of control the line of the leg. But, so same going from lift, drop, lift to prepare, and you're going to sweep the foot out, and as you do that, you're going to drop to the back. It feels a little bit like a pelvic tip or pelvic tuck, but you're also sinking slightly. So can you see that? You need to do that at the exact same time as you drive the leg out. And think of pushing from underneath. Don't try to lift it like it's on a puppet string. Don't like just lift the foot. You have to push from underneath, almost like you're pushing outward. So don't think up, because people tend to do this. Think sweep and just keep it going. Okay, so we're going to do 1 and 2. Yes, see? 1 and 2. I'm going to come a little closer so you can see how much you have to pull that back. So coming in, also make sure you're not starting up here, make sure you're not starting here. Yeah, tuck it all in, ribcage over your hip bones, and drop and tuck. Drop and tuck, drop and tuck, drop and tuck. Pull up the quads as well. Drop and tuck. There's a second variation of this that you'll see where it comes in and then out. So basically, développé, okay? Just for those of you who are familiar with ballet terms, okay, it's basically the same thing. So we're gonna go 1 and 2. Remember, these are accents. You're not usually gonna do them in succession. I really like to do them like at the end of a phrase of Saiidi hip drop. So dun 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 dun. So we could go drop 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. Yeah? So you're just bringing that foot in and then out. To really make it nice and fluid and precise, you need to have tension through the leg the whole time. Starting from here, so drop and drop the hip still as it comes down and drop. So as you pull up, 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 and we're slowly dropping, finishing the drop at 90 degrees or 45. It doesn't have to come all the way up. 90 degrees is actually the hardest degree. All right, 45 is where most people should start. And focus on your placement and your extension and your poise through that. You don't want to go drop and drop and drop and. That doesn't look the same, okay? So make sure that you're actually extending and resist it in the hip. So as the foot comes out, okay, you have to resist that movement. Do not, this is super common for belly dancers, okay? Do not let the hip go with the leg. Because we're belly dancers, we want everything to start in the hip. And that's probably where a lot of belly dancers feel frustrated with these movements, because they'll want to imitate it, but their hip isn't going in the right place. Because subconsciously, we're used to driving from the hips. So we're perhaps used to going drop, and we're thinking about forward, so the hip wants to lift, and the hip wants to go forward. It's muscle memory. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just purely what we're used to. So we have to learn a little bit different. Let's do a few on this side, because I'm doing all on one leg here. So we had 2 variations so far, 90 or 45. The same thing applies. And shift down. We also have pull in and out. You also, there's a variation on variation, a sub-variation if you will. You can come back and out. Notice there, hips stay right where they are. Again, that being the challenge for belly dancers. We can't go back and forward because then we lose the balance. So we have to root down. You can bend this leg if you need to. So we've done da, da, da. This would take a few more counts, so practice that on 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. My hip does not move, except for very subtly to counterbalance. Yeah. Moving on to the Saiidi passe. All right, so this one's a little easier. I'm gonna go drop and up. Really lovely, nice for when you have a nice strong accent. I love to put it with a little like sassy movement in the arms as well. The trick for this is that we're dropping the hip still even as we lift the foot. So what's tricky about that, for most people, is that when we go, okay, lift, drop, lift, we want to think, okay, foot comes up, but then we're losing the metronome of that hip, which is kind of the signature of Saiidi hip drop. So we want to go drop and drop. So as you pull the foot up, the hip is coming down. So you have to think of the movement like this. I don't know, like a little hydraulic press or something. I don't know, whatever does this kind of thing. I always try to think of stupid analogies and sometimes I just don't come up with one. But don't leave the hip up here when you do that. You're going to lose the steam from Saiidi. So we don't want to go 1, oh gosh, can I even do it like that? Da, 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 da. You still have to drop the hip. So it should look like this. 1 and 2, and I like to do it on 3 and 4. A couple little tricks there. Please make sure, flex or point, whatever you're going to do. Once again, do it on purpose. Do it with style, okay? The other thing though is that we don't want that foot coming out here or back here. We want that foot to come right here. So kneecap, that little bone there, or like right to the hinge point of where the upper leg meets the lower leg. And it should come straight up like a little elevator. And then keep your balance on that standing leg. So there's variation in number 3. The 4th one is Saiidi attitude. All right, so this is really fun. I'm going to do it on this hip because I actually have a little problem on my left hip right now. But, so we're going to do, like we normally would, drop and kick. And then again, I like to do this on the 4 or the 8 count. We're going to go into a little attitude. So find yourself a little balance, something to lean against or use a chair. Don't worry about the standing leg. You don't have to turn that one out, but this one you do have to turn the hip out some. And please don't judge me too hard today because I do have a hip problem at the moment, so this is not my best. I'm going to show you supporting it though so that you can see the alignment here. That leg is not straight and it's not like super bent, but the most important thing is that you're not dropping that knee. Okay, so you really need to go what? Actually, I think it might be easier on this hip. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, never mind. Let's do it on this hip. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. That is way better on that hip, man. That's super asymmetrical. Technically, this is the injured side, but whatever. So let's look at it on this side. There we go. So here I'm able to keep my chest up. That's something we want to go for, and you're really using your hip muscles. A really great way to practice this is to do fire hydrants on the floor, just side leg lifts, okay? But make sure it's not at 90 degrees. That knee has to open back. And again, it's not about height, so it could be low. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just a little accent back. And I love to do it with a little bit of a hop in it too. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit of like accent. 4. Okay? So work with that. Slowly build up to lifting that leg higher. You can also do an attitude to the front as well. Drop and forward. But you see that pretty commonly as well. So there again, lift, and then as you're lifting, very important that you turn that hip out and open the knee. Make sure it's not in too far or out too far. All right, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Takes a little bit of getting used to. You really have to use your adductors there. And you're sweeping forward. And that's really very common with the folkloric style too. So that's a really nice one that you can put in to more folksy combinations with flexed feet, etc., traditional costumes and the like. But if you want that really like modern, very elegant, very dramatic tarab feeling, try a couple of these variations. And you know, it's kind of the quick video, and I'm a little breathless because I've been filming all day. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for checking out the video. And once again, thank you for subscribing, commenting, liking, and putting up with those advertisements. I know they're annoying, but they really help support me when I don't have other sources of income right now. So thank you. I'll see you next time.